Hi dear students, in today's live class we were discussed the 10th chapter in biology, that is respiration in organisms, and in our previous class we were already started that chapter, so we can just recollect the things that we have studied. We know that all organisms are made up of cells, and cells are considered as the structural and functional unit of all living organisms. And inside the cells there are lots of processes are taking place, and all those processes requires energy. So the food that we eat will give us energy. So we know that after digestion, glucose is supplied into each and every cells of our body. And after what happens? After that, glucose is again breaking down into carbon dioxide and water, and energy is released. That is how energy is produced by this. And this processes require oxygen. This process require oxygen. And where do we get this oxygen? Yes, through respiration we get oxygen. So the formation, the breaking down of glucose and the release of energy is closely related with the process of respiration, because this process occurs only in the presence of oxygen. Okay, and what is meant by respiration? Respiration is the process of taking in oxygen and using it release energy by the breakdown of food and removing the waste carbon dioxide and water. That process is termed as respiration. And respiration are of two types: external respiration and internal respiration. External respiration is referred to as simply breathing. That means the intake of oxygen and the giving out of carbon dioxide by using the respiratory organ. That is termed as external respiration. And internal respiration, or otherwise we can call cellular respiration. It is the process of breakdown of food or glucose in the cells with the release of energy. It is the cellular respiration. The breaking down of glucose in the cells to release energy is termed as cellular respiration, and it is taking place in the absence of oxygen and also in the presence of oxygen. So in the presence of oxygen the respiration occurs, and that is termed as aerobic respiration. And the respiration that occurs in the absence of oxygen is anaerobic respiration. And this anaerobic respiration occurs only in some cases. Okay. And in normal cases, in all organisms, aerobic respiration takes place. So first we can study about aerobic respiration. The breakdown of glucose into carbon dioxide and water to release energy in the presence of oxygen is termed as aerobic respiration. And the equation for this aerobic respiration is given in your textbook. Glucose plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide, water and energy in the presence of oxygen. And those organisms that performs this aerobic respiration are termed as aerobes. Okay, and the next one is anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration, that is occurring in the absence of oxygen. So we can define this anaerobic respiration as the process of breaking down of glucose into alcohol and carbon dioxide and release of energy in the absence of oxygen is termed as anaerobic respiration. So instead of carbon dioxide and water in aerobic respiration, here in this anaerobic respiration, alcohol and carbon dioxide are produced. And the organisms that have this anaerobic mode of respiration are termed as anaerobes. Usually the energy produced during the aerobic respiration is higher, much higher than that of the anaerobic respiration. During anaerobic respiration, only very small quantity of energy is produced. In some bacteria and in yeast, this anaerobic respiration occurs. Okay, there is a table that shows the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. I will just read that. So for our next class, you need to thoroughly by heart this table. Okay, I will ask questions. First parameter is presence of oxygen. Aerobic respiration occurs in the presence of oxygen, and instead the anaerobic respiration occurs in the absence of oxygen. And breakdown of food. The complete breakdown of glucose takes place. Complete breakdown of glucose takes place in aerobic respiration, but in anaerobic respiration, the incomplete breakdown or partial breakdown of glucose occurs. And end products of aerobic respiration are carbon dioxide and water, and the end products of anaerobic respiration are alcohol and carbon dioxide. And the amount of energy released during aerobic respiration is large amount of energy, and during anaerobic respiration only very small quantity of energy is released. So these are the main difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. And the next topic is anaerobic respiration in muscles. So as I told you that anaerobic respiration occurs in yeast and bacteria, but in human beings only in some cases, this anaerobic respiration occur in muscle cells only. Okay, so during heavy exercise, fast running, cycling, walking for many hours, heavy weight lifting, all these requires more energy, a much higher energy than that of the usual energy. So in order to satisfy that energy, there requires more oxygen, because energy is produced only if there is oxygen is there, right? Breaking down of glucose occurs only if there is oxygen. So for that, in order to satisfy this heavy physical activity, the demand of energy is high, but the energy is produced is very low. So in that case, the glucose is broken down into another compound called lactic acid. Glucose is broken down into lactic acid in muscle cells for releasing and also releases energy. Okay, and this is represented as an equation here. Glucose gives lactic acid plus energy in the anaerobic condition, that means in the lack of oxygen. So when this lactic acid is produced in our body, that leads to the formation of muscle cramps. Muscle cramp means koluthi valiga. Okay, so why this muscle cramps occurs? Due to the production of lactic acid and also the release of energy during anaerobic respiration in muscles. It will produce muscle cramps. Okay, and when this lactic acid is produced in our body, that is not good for our health. And that muscle cramps, how we can relieve this muscle cramp? By hot water bath or by massaging, we can avoid or we can relieve from this muscle cramp. So by this massaging and hot water bath, what happens is more blood circulation occurs to the muscle cell. So that blood will carry more oxygen. Okay, and the lactic acid produced in that part will get again breakdown into carbon dioxide and water. So the normal form will again revert back to normal form. So this is happening when we are subjected to heavy exercises and heavy body activities. So that is muscle cramps and also the anaerobic respiration in muscle cells. So these are the portions that we have covered in today's class, and the rest of the portion we can discuss in our next class. Thank you.